have joining us the VP of the EMEA for this discussion, but I'm going to direct most of my questions to Moshe. Normally we don't do Q&A, but if anybody has a burning question I'm not asking, I'll allow it. So Moshe, why don't we start with just an overview of InMode, kind of what makes it special, maybe cover some of the key technologies and how you've been able to grow so quickly and take so much share in the aesthetic market.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Thank you for the opportunity. With me, Adrian, he's our VP Marketing and Sales in Europe. If you have any question regarding our European operation, Adrian will be delighted to answer. Okay, a little bit about InMode. I'm sure some of you know what is the medical aesthetic industry. Started in the late 70s or the beginning of the 80s with one technology, which was optical technology, laser technology. Later on, some other technology were developed. Most of them were optical. And optical energy cannot go deep into the skin. It can penetrate 1 millimeter, 2 millimeter, maybe at the most 2.5 millimeter. So laser technology can treat what I call topical skin. Hair removal, skin rejuvenation, pigmentation, some vascular lesion, acne, etc. But, at the end of the day, people who wants to go and do some surgical procedure, the only solution that they have is to go to the hospital and do some plastic surgery, which involved, a few days hospitalization, full anesthesia, downtime, which can be in between 10 to 2 weeks. So body and face reshaping, the only way to do it up until InMode came on board was a full plastic surgery. So when we started, and my company, I was in the medical aesthetic long term. I established a company earlier, which was a laser company called Cineron, which later was acquired by Apex. And we decided that we need to find a technology, which is basically a technology that it's a blind technology, does not see the pigment, and can go as deep as we want. And the only way to do it is with bipolar RF. This is the technology that we have developed. We can go any depth we want with minimal invasive and non-invasive. So it enables us to do body and face reshaping in a doctor office under local anesthesia and not full anesthesia, getting 80-90% of the full surgical procedure. And that was the message. Of course, the technologies were well protected. We protected them. We raised $3 million when we started, most of the money from the founders. We didn't raise any money after that. It took us 2 years to develop the product, the first product line and the technology. We came to the market in something like 2012, 2013, with a technology called radio frequency assisted lipolysis. And we started selling in several countries. It took us about 3 years to convince the FDA that this is safe with high efficacy. We got the first approval in 2016, and that was the first year we commercialized the first technology in the United States. The first year was $23 million in revenue. This year we will do probably $455 million. We're very profitable, 85% gross margin and 50% net profit. We have about $500 million in cash, and we're looking for some acquisition now. And we continue to develop. Right now we have about 8 different platforms. We expanded the basic technology into some ablative technology, also penetrating the skin. Everything that we do is more surgical, but we have non-surgical as well. It doesn't mean that we don't do laser. We do also laser because we want to give a one-stop shop to any aesthetic doctor. But this is 10% of our business, not 100% of our business. We're growing. This year we will grow by 30%, around $100 million. Last year we did even better than that. Even in the COVID year, we managed to grow and maintain the momentum.
Great. No more questions. That was a good start. All right. So, what would you say to investors who are worried about recession? You're in a cash pay business, but you're still growing. You still have a lot of momentum. Help us think about how you're planning for a recession. What should we expect? Can you still grow through some of those kind of pressures?
Okay. Well, first of all, I have to say that so far we don't feel the recession and we don't feel the slowdown. I mean, even in the third quarter usually in medical aesthetic is the slow quarter because of the summer. In Europe, people don't go to get aesthetic surgical procedure during the summer. They go on vacation. They don't go to the doctor's office. And we managed to grow even compared to the second quarter, and of course compared to the third quarter of last year by 30%. I don't think recession will affect us because of 2 reasons. First, the people who coming to the doctor to pay $5,000-$7,000 for surgical procedure of face, body, arms, cellulite, they are not affected so much by the recession. These are the highest demographic, okay? Second, we are replacing operation which basically costs 3 times as much. Doing a full surgical procedure in the hospital will not cost $5,000-$7,000, will cost $20,000. So, I mean, people will say, hey, if I can do it with less downtime, 1/3 of the cost in the doctor office, and, without full anesthesia, for this amount, I mean, so maybe full plastic surgery will be affected by recession. I don't think we will win.
Okay. Maybe also just to follow up on that, could you talk about, since you've been in the business a long time, what are some of the differences that you see in this recession versus what we saw in 2008, 2009?
2008, 2009, I was with InMode, my last time in InMode. The recession was a deep one. Hopefully this recession will not be as deep. I mean, I read some macroeconomics analysis that Jefferies released stating that the recession will come on the third quarter and it will be mild. So hopefully it will not be as bad. But if the recession will be very bad, we will be affected. We also will be affected. How much? We don't know. But we will overcome it. We have enough resources. By the way, in the COVID time, in 2020, in between February until July, we didn't sell even one machine. Everything was closed. The doctors closed the offices. Not only in the US and not only in England, all over the world. And I decided I'm not firing and I'm not let people go because I don't want to save $10 million and then lose the talent. We kept all the team. We trained them. We continue to develop. And when the market reopened sometime in July 2020, I mean, we took market share from our competitors. And if the recession will be deep, I'll do the same. I don't want to fire. I don't want to lose the talent. I want to keep the company as a family company. Everybody will enjoy the upside. By the way, I gave 30% of the company when I have established this company. 30% I gave to the employees, options, RSUs, etc. So everybody is happy. People don't leave us. So if the recession will be deep, we will overcome it. Hopefully, it will not be as deep as 2008.
I know, just to follow up on that, I know you actually attracted talent during that time because other competitors were firing people.
During the COVID?
During COVID,
oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, most of them.
Yeah. Do you see that kind of opportunity now? Are you planning for that?
No. To fire people? No.
No, to pick up people from...
We do all the time. And we did it in 2020. We did pick up some people from Cutera, from Cynosure, from Candela. All of our so-called competitors who said, hey, we can save costs right now. We have to save costs. And we fire people, we will rehire them. But when they try to rehire them, they realize that they came to us, at least the good ones. And therefore, I think this is the right approach. I mean, I mean, at the end of the day, in our business, it's all about people. If you have the good people, you will overcome any obstacle, any recession. If you don't have the good people or you fire them and you keep and you lose loyalty of them, that's something that will kill you over time.
All right, maybe we can shift to some products. So you have a number of different product lines now, and some of them are kind of mix and match, but I wanted for you to talk a little bit about the growth trends in body type, face type, in Morpheus, and hands-free. Maybe break it down that way. You don't always talk about it that way. Okay. Well, our surgical business is around 85% of our business. And it includes all the minimal invasive and ablative, which mean 3 different families, the Morpheus family and the body type, face type, neck type family. And we see a huge momentum in this. I can tell you that we can measure that through the numbers of disposables that we're selling, because every operation needs one-time disposable. You penetrate the skin. You cannot reuse it. So in the last year, the numbers of disposables that we're selling quarter over quarter double itself. That means that the doctors are using the system more and more. We're currently in the neighborhood of close to 1 million disposable per year. And we will continue to grow there. By the way, in addition to that, the old RFAL technology, which is the body type, face type, neck type, is almost now 10 years old. We started to develop a new generation of body type, face type, which will come to the market hopefully in 2023 to keep the momentum on this. Every product that we develop, we have a very strong, I would say, IP in order. Nobody tried to infringe our patent so far, okay? But at the end of the day, I believe that IP is some protection. The most important protection is the momentum and the market awareness. You know, one of the main questions I get from investors is about your penetration and how much more runway you have. Yeah. Maybe you could talk about a few different ways to think about that penetration and get people comfortable that there's still a lot of room to grow. Okay. So far, we have a 15,500 install base worldwide, out of which 7,500 in the US and the rest ROW. Okay, we started in the United States because we had very limited resources, and the US is the most important market for us because most of the luminary doctors are in the US, most of the conferences, the peer review magazines are in the US. We started, and then later on we started to open some other subsidiaries. Currently we have 8 subsidiaries, 4 in Europe, Canada, US, Australia, India, and we just starting operation in China as well. If you take into account the numbers of lasers, active laser equipment in the world, it's in between 80,000 to 100,000 devices. I believe that every doctor who are using laser in his clinic
can use an RF device, either minimally invasive or non-invasive, of course with the right training. And they want to, because we created a demand. I don't know if you guys know, but Kim Kardashian posted something a few weeks ago that she did their abdomen with the Morpheus, and this is a game changer. So we got 10,000 calls on the same day. 10,000. We couldn't handle it. I mean, but that's create momentum. And now today, people are asking doctors, do you have Morpheus? Do you have body type? So the potential is at least 100,000 only in the aesthetic. And in addition to that, I'm sure you know that we already started to do business in the women health and wellness and aesthetic gynecology. We actually brought to the market a new platform called Empower. When we started early this year, I gave a guidance of $20 million for the first year, and then I raised it to $30 million, and last quarter I raised it to $40 million. We were very surprised with the success of the Empower in women health, which take care of all kind of aesthetic gynecology, but also SUI, dryness, etc. And that will continue to grow. So I believe that the gynecology market is as big as aesthetic. And taking the technology into new medical communities like gynecology, ENTs, snoring and sleep apnea, ophthalmology, upper and lower lid operation, dry eye, will open the market. But I want to say something. At the end of the day, we're an aesthetic company. Every platform that we will develop will have some aesthetic and some specialty for this new medical community. For example, ophthalmology. I mean, in addition to dry eye and upper and lower lid operation, which is aesthetic, we also add facial Morpheus to do periorbital wrinkles. So doctor can use the platforms and make more money in using it on his customer base or patient base. So this is the approach. So we're an aesthetic company, but we extended the business into new communities in the wellness and area. Currently, all private money.
You took my Kim Kardashian questions.
Okay. Oh, really? So ask it again. So.
The other one, so you talked about the million hand pieces. Maybe you could talk about the percentage of procedures, too. Could you frame things that way in terms of penetration, in terms of how many hand pieces? Or?
So I said that how disposable, the hand pieces, we're currently approaching 1 million every year. And it's doubled itself in the last year.
And where do you think that could go over time? What is kind of the addressable market?
I would say that once the install base will reach 30,000, it will more than double itself. Today it's about 12 to 13% of our revenue, but it can go up to 25. But we're not a razor and razor blade company. We don't give the system free in order to sell high price disposable. The market doesn't like it. The doctor don't like it. They want that we will sell the product and we will sell the disposable as well. The return on investment on the product in the United States is in between 6 to 7 months to the doctor.
That's for you in terms of getting more consumable. I guess what I was asking was, when you think about the number of procedures that you're going to address with the whole portfolio, kind of that same way that you're talking about the 100,000 lasers, how many total procedures is this market that you're going to be addressing within the next few years? Meaning, how many consumables could you sell in 5 or 10 years per year?
Well, it's difficult to predict 10 years from today, but if we manage to penetrate the gynecology, the ENT, the ophthalmology, and we develop a product for, erection dysfunction as well. Probably if you take into account all of this, every new platforms that we develop has at least 2-3 different disposable, it can reach several million. But I cannot predict the numbers 5 years from today.
Okay. Let's follow up on women's health, because that's been a really good launch. And I think on the last call you talked about thinking about 20% growth, kind of at least for that platform in the coming years. What are the things that you think will continue to drive the growth now? And are you going to continue to develop evidence around SUI and OAB?
Oh, yeah. Currently we have 5 publications, which will come out before the end of the year in peer review magazine on all kind of study that we did. OAB, dryness, SUI, etc. We would like to get a special clearance from the FDA for SUI, and we're working on it. That's another study that we need to do. In order, I know that this is your next question for reimbursement of SUI. So basically, we'll develop another modality for HPV to treat papilloma on the same platforms. Yes, we are expanding the platforms for different new modalities and treatment.
And so you've talked about this in the past, but maybe explain, do you think you'll continue to just do cash pay, or at some point would you actually want to go for reimbursed procedure to medical claim?
In the aesthetic, it's pure cash pay. I mean, I cannot imagine any aesthetic treatment that can be covered by reimbursement. Maybe some leg veins in certain countries, etc. 99.9% in aesthetic is a cash pay. Cannot be reimbursed. In women health, yes, there are some indications that it also can be reimbursed, like urine incontinence of people, pelvic floor restoration after pregnancy, etc. So basically, yes, we can go to reimbursement as well. In ENT, I believe, yes, there are some indication that if we get the right indication and the right clearance from the FDA, we can go to reimbursement. But I want to tell you something. The doctors that we are serving love the cash pay because they can charge as much as they want. And reimbursement right now is always going down. So for them, cash pay is something that they love. But reimbursement is also something that we will consider, although it's take time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Quasi-related to this, you talked about your building cash, you've got great margins and cash flow, and more recently you've been more forthright on calls talking about acquisitions.
Yeah.
So maybe you could just talk about uses of cash in general, and then how do you think about acquisitions? What kind of things would you look to acquire?
Okay, good question. Well, yes, we have about $500 million, and we're generating in between $50 to $60 million every quarter. So by the end of this year, by the end of next year, we probably will have around $700 million or even more. We have a very strong R&D pipeline, I have to say. We have 15 projects in the R&D pipeline. And we're coming with at least 2 different treatment platforms, modalities, handpieces every year in order to keep the momentum of the market and keep the momentum of the growth. So, I mean, we can rely on R&D and distribute the money as dividend or buy back stock. But we decided not to do it. We are looking for acquisition. I have to say, we are looking for acquisition. What kind of acquisition? Whether the acquisition is totally synergetic to us, we will not buy a laser company because laser has become a commodity. The gross margin on laser equipment today is around 50%. You can look at Cutera and other companies and see for yourself. So if we will look for what we're looking for, we will not buy a small company. Of course, if there is any technology that we can buy for a few $1 million in order to complement our technologies and put it together, we will do it. But that will not require $500 million. But if we can find a company that will maintain our position in the aesthetic surgery, in the plastic surgery, like implants, like fillers, like Botox, something which is more disposable than platforms, it's good for us because at the end of the day, we want to be 50-50 with disposable and compared to the platform. We're looking with Jefferies today on several opportunities, exploring them. We don't have anything concrete, but it will come.
Maybe spend a minute on the margins. So I get a lot of questions on the margins. So a 2-part question. One is maybe just talk about how you achieve such high margins today. And then when you look at acquisitions, how high is the bar in terms of the gross margins, the operating margins? It's hard to find things that have that margin profile.
I agree. Yeah, I don't see any other medical aesthetic or medical company that has 85% gross margin and 50% EBIT. It's difficult. But I have to say, we looked on gross margin, 85 gross margin, as not nice to have. It's a must-have. So every product that we develop, that I authorize to develop, from the drawing board, need to show that we give a solution to an unmet need, and we can manufacture it in 85% gross margin. If we cannot show it, we don't start. Period. Okay? I did the same with Silicone, even with laser, and we had 87% gross margin when I was the CEO. It's very easy to lose the lean and mean approach. We have a good manufacturing facilities in Israel. I believe manufacturing in Israel is a little bit less expensive than in the United States compared to some of our competitors, but not much. We know how to design a manufacturing line in order to maintain relatively low cost of goods sold. As far as component, on every component that we are using, we have at least 3 suppliers, so we were not affected by the supply chain, situation post-COVID. So we have all the components that we want, and we know how to manage between the subsidiaries in order to buy it in the right price. We are growing in the numbers of systems that we are making every quarter. We're now on 1,500 systems every quarter. So as we grow, there's some economies of scale. But the most important, 85% gross margin for us is a must. And we develop the product to be 85% gross margin, all the way through the product life cycle, including maintenance, including all kind of life cycle and time, etc., shipping and everything. So this is something for us the most important, and not the outside design of the product.
And then what about on the acquisitions? How do you find something like that? Are you going to keep the same kind of filter for that profile?
We will not find something which will not be dilutive to our margin and profitability. But we hope that once we'll buy something and we will incorporate and integrate it into our system, we will operate it in the way we operate our business. And eventually, maybe it will not be 85% gross margin because some industries cannot maintain that, but it will be close.
All right, great. I think that's all the time we have. These are like speed rounds, but thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
It's been great talking with you, and thanks everybody for joining.
Thank you.